Hello, good morning, boys and girls. Today is Monday, August 17th, 2020, and today is your first Wit and Wisdom recorded lesson. So for today, remember the materials you need is your Wit and Wisdom Module 0 packet and a pencil and your spiral, the 3-subject spiral for Wit and Wisdom. Alright, remember our Wit and Wisdom goal is that 100% of students will pass your end of modules and your bi-weekly assessments with 100%. Yes. Now let's go ahead and get started. Since today we're going to be working on lesson 2, you're going to start your do now. For lesson 2, that's on page 1. And your do now says, what is the big question called? A, essential question, B, focusing question, or C, content framing question. I want you to circle 1, and I will give you 10 seconds to answer that, and then park your pencil while I find my slide. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, your pencil is parked. Remember, we turn in our do nows when the whole sheet is done. So when we finish lesson 6, you will upload your do nows so that I can see it. Okay, so we've been working on lesson 1, and today we're going to finish it, and we're going to start and finish lesson 2. So for lesson 1, we were reading the text, Wild About Books. I have uploaded the text into files. You will find the book. That way you are able to read it again, or you can read and test it for AR. And you can also, if you need it for the assignment, you can go back and use it. Okay, so now, since in the last lesson, we noticed and wondered together, we talked about it, we got ideas from each other. For today, you will be completing page 2. So you will complete page 2. You're going to write 2 notices that you notice about the book and 2 wonders that you wonder about the book. So 2 questions that you have. You're going to finish the sentence that says, I notice and I wonder. So I'm going to give you one example. Let's switch it here. So I'm going to give you one example of what that looks like on your paper. So here on page 2, I'm going to write 1 notice and 1 wonder. And you are going to do the rest. So I'm going to write I notice. I notice all the animals in the zoo. Love books. Period. So that's 1 notice that I noticed. You can use my notice and write a new one, or you can write 2 new ones on your own. And another wonder that I have, a question that I have is that I heard that some of you wondered about in our live lesson last week is, why are the animals scared? Don't forget your question mark at the end and your period at the end for your notice. Now, you are going to write your own notice and wonder. During our live session is when you are going to write them. Okay, because this page is due at the end of the whole lesson. your parents help you upload it, okay? So right now, I don't want you to do it yet until you do it for our live lesson. That way, if you need help, I'm able to help you, okay? Now, today's small question was our content framing question. That is the question we answered today. What did I notice and wonder about Wild About Books? That is the question that we answered in today's lesson. What does it mean to wonder? To wonder, it means to ask a question. Remember, the small question is the one that we answer at the end of every lesson. Content framing question. What question did we answer from this lesson? The big question, essential question, the medium question, focusing question, or the small question, content framing question. You are going to answer this question in your exit ticket, and I will show you where your exit ticket is at the end of the lesson for lesson 1. What do I notice and wonder about Wild About Books? How does noticing and wondering about a story help us learn? Let's think about that. When we notice and wonder about a book, how does that help us learn? In Wit and Wisdom, every time that we read a new book, we are always going to notice and wonder about the story. How does it help us? Well, it helps us learn by making sure that we're paying close attention to the details, and also that we are wondering and asking questions about the book. That shows that we are very focused on the book and that we want to learn more about the book. Now, this is what we learned to do today. Questions, snap, snaps. We learned to echo read when the teacher reads and then you read, snap, snaps. We learned about sentence frames, and you're using them here in your worksheet, number 2. We learned about notice and wonder. This page is your notice and wonder chart, and you're going to be using notice and wonder charts for every new book that you read in Wit and Wisdom. All right, so that's the end of lesson 1. It was short since we worked on it last week. Now, let's get started in lesson 2. Let me switch my camera. So here we're going to start lesson 2. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to identify something. That means to figure something out, to look for it. Details are pieces of information. Key details are important pieces of information. We're going to do a tableau, which is create a moment in the story by acting it out. We're going to discuss unfamiliar words, so that's words that you do not know. How are we going to do this? We're going to listen to a read aloud of Wild About Books and answer questions. 2, create a tableau of the story. That means create a moment. And 3, explore vocabulary, words that we don't know. Why? Why is it important? When we are reading a book, it is important to imagine ourselves in the book. That helps us understand the book a lot better. So last week and today we finished up Noticed and Wondered about the text Wild About Books. Today we're going to read the book again and we're going to create a tableau. So let's review what we learned. What does it mean to notice something? Remember, notice is an observation. I noticed there are animals in the book. I noticed there's a librarian. I noticed the animals loved to read. I noticed the animals started to write. What does it mean to wonder about something? Remember, a wonder is a question. What questions do we have over the book? What were some things we noticed and wondered in our text Wild About Books? I'm going to read them all since today you're submitting your assignment, page 2 from your packet. What are you wild about? What really makes you excited? In the last lesson, we talked about what it meant to be wild, and we had great answers. It means you're crazy about something. It means you really, really love it, or you really like it, or that you want to learn more about. So I want you to think, what are you wild about? I am wild about writing. I love writing. So that's what I'm wild about. So I want you to take out your paper, page 3. Let me see if I can connect my camera. So in the same packet, you're going to go to page 3. Let me see. So you're going to go to page 3 of your packet. I'm not sure if you can see me. I'm having some issues with it. But it's page 3, and it says, what are you wild about? What makes you really excited? Finish the sentence and draw a small picture. So you can write, and there is a sentence frame. I am wild about, and you will write what you're really wild about. And right there in the side, you can just draw a small sketch of what you're really excited about. So what I'm wild about is about writing. So I would write, I'm wild about writing. Then I would draw a little sketch of me writing something. So here I would put, I am wild about writing. And I can draw a little picture of a journal with writing. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. You can press pause and complete the sentence. And then when you're ready, you can press play and continue with the lesson. Only answer that question. Okay, so let's remember our big question for today. How does reading help us learn? Let's look at our focusing question, which is our medium question, the one that takes us a few lessons to answer. How does a librarian make reading fun in Wild About Books? What do you notice about these questions? Have we seen them before? Yes or no? Yes, we have. We saw them in lesson 1. Remember, our essential question will take several weeks to answer because it's the big one that we answer at the end of the module. Our focusing question will take several days to answer several lessons. And look at our small question. Our content framing question is new because that one we answer at the end of every lesson. It is the small question. It is different from yesterday's or different from today's earlier because it only takes one lesson to answer. Our small question for today is, what is happening in Wild About Books? Let's echo read. I read and then you read. What is happening in Wild About Books? Your turn. Get ready. Yes, what is happening in Wild About Books? I want to make sure you are answering because we have integrity. That means you do the right thing when no one is watching. So today we're going to find out what's happening in this book. Now today we're going to reread the text. That means we're going to read it again to think about what is happening in the book. Okay? And in page 3, you have some questions that you are going to be answering while I read the book again. So let's look at the questions you will be answering while I read. What are the animals doing? On page 1 and 2. Page 3 and 4, how did Molly get the animals' attention? What did she do to get their attention? And pages 5 through 16, do all the animals read the same books? How do you know? All right, let's read the text. And I have uploaded this text to your file so that you're able to read the book and you can test on it, or you can go back to read it if you need help. It started in the summer of 2002, when the Springfield librarian, Molly McGrew, by mistake drove her bookmobile into the zoo. Molly opened the door and she let down the stair, turned on the computer and sat in her chair. At first, all the animals watched from a distance, but Molly could conquer the strongest resistance. Now we're going to stop right here and you're going to write what are the animals doing on page 1 and 2? Here and here. What are the animals doing? I want you to answer the question. You're going to use the sentence frame, they are, and you're going to write what they're doing. You can pause my video and finish the sentence, and then when you're done, you press play again to continue. All right, I'm going to continue. Remember, you can press pause. But reading aloud from the Good Dr. Seuss, she quickly attracted a mink and a moose, a wombat, an aurochs, a lemur, a lynx, 8 elephant calves, and a family of stinks. Let's pause right here. How did Molly get the animals' attention? How did Molly get the animals' attention? What did she do? Answer in a complete sentence. Molly. And finish the sentence. You can pause the video and write your sentence, and when you're done, you press play again. I'm going to continue reading. In a flash, every beast in the zoo was stampeding to learn all about this new something called reading. Remember, stampeding is a large group of animals running together. Forsaking their niches, their nest, and their nooks, they went wild, simply wild about wonderful books. Choosing thin books and fat books and cat-in-the-hat books, and new books and true books and heaps of how-to books. Giraffes wanted tall books and crickets craved small books, while geckos could only read stick-to-the-wall books. The pandas demanded more books in Chinese. Molly filled the request, always eager to please. She found waterproof books for the otter, who never went swimming without Harry Potter. Raccoons read alone and baboons read in bunches, and llamas read dramas while eating their lunches. Hyenas shared jokes with red-bellied snakes, and they howled and they hissed till their funny bones ached. So look at all the animals. Are they reading the same books? No, they're reading all different books. A tree kangaroo who adored Nancy Drew began solving mysteries right there at the zoo, such as why were the bandicoots books overdue? Gently Molly taught lessons in treating books right, for the boa constrictor squeezed Crick Dirt too tight. Baby bunnies mucked up Goodnight Moon with their paws. Giant Termites devoured the Wizard of Oz. Uh-oh, they are hurting the books. And Bears Love the Books was completely outrageous. They licked all of the pictures right off of the pages. So let's take a moment to answer this question. Remember, you don't need to finish answering them because we are going to be live and we're going to go over them and look at them. So if you take more time, that's okay. Do all the animals read the same books? Yes or no? And how do you know? How do you know they read the same books, or how do you know they read different books? You're going to answer the question. You can press pause and then press play when you're ready. Continue reading. Tasmanian devils found books so exciting that soon they had given up fighting for writing. They made up adventures so thrilling and new that others decided to be authors too. Pythons wrote with their tails, penguins wrote with their bills, and porcupines wrote with their very own quills. The new insect zoo, bugs were scribbling haiku. The scorpion gave each a stinging review. As the cheetah's new novel began to take shape, he read chapters each night to the Barbary ape. And although the gazelle couldn't spell very well, like everyone else, she had stories to tell. Imagine the hippo's enormous surprise when her memoir was given the Zoolitzer Prize. She's happy. With so many new books, Molly knew what to do. She hired 12 beavers, a stork, and a gnu to build a branch library right there at the zoo. When the animals cried, "We can do it ourselves. We can check the books out. We can put them on shelves." And they did, and they do, up to this very day. 3 cheers for the Zoobrary. Wow, now they love it. When you visit the zoo now, you surely won't mind if the animals seem just a bit hard to find. They are snug in their niches, their nests and their nooks, going wild, simply wild about wonderful books. The end. All right. Let's see. Why does it go? There it is. Okay. So we're going to learn a new routine. It's called a tableau. It means you act out a frozen image in the story. 1, how the animals looked at the beginning of the story, and 2, what the animals were doing at the end of the story. So in the beginning of the story, the animals, how do they look in the beginning? Are they coming out to hear Molly? No, they're scared. So we would make a scared face. And then at the end, what are they doing at the end of the story? Look at them. What are they doing? Yes, they're reading the books. Are they still scared? No, they are not scared anymore. So let's act it out. So in the beginning, okay, now we're going to practice a new routine. We're going to put new and unfamiliar words on our word wall. So our first word is stampeding. So where that is going to be is in our journal, our big 3-subject notebook. So what you're going to do is you're going to open to your first one. Your first subject is going to be your vocabulary journal. Okay, so you're going to write. Let me go ahead and switch my camera. open to the first subject, and you're going to write the words vocabulary, big, journal. If you don't finish writing this, that's okay. I will give you time during our live lesson. Vocabulary journal. You can press pause so you're able to copy it. And you can press play when you're back and ready. Now we're going to add this to our journal. This is where we're going to write all the words that we're learning. This is an unfamiliar word that maybe we have not heard before. So this is our vocabulary word that we're going to write in our vocabulary journal. So what the word is stampeding. So we're going to put word, we're going to make a chart, and meaning. The word is stampeding. Make sure that you only use one line. What it means is suddenly rushing wildly as a group. You're going to write it in. Suddenly rushing wildly as a group. That's our first word that we're writing in our vocabulary journal. So here it is as a sentence. In a flash, every beast in the zoo was stampeding to learn all about this new something called reading. Uh-oh. You can press pause and write it down, and when you're all set, you can press play again to continue with the lesson. So let's think. After the animals in Wild About Books started to read, what else did they do? Did they learn to do? At the end, they were what? Yes, they were writing. Why do people write? Why is it important to write about what I read? How might writing about Wild About Books help you better understand the story? When you write about it, you are like reviewing that back in your mind and you're practicing it so you understand the book better. Just like the animals, they would read and then all of a sudden they wanted to write their own books. So this is our small question. What is happening in Wild About Books? What is one word that could describe how the animals felt about the librarian and the books at the beginning, and how did they feel at the end? We're going to talk about this in our live lesson. Remember the new routines we learned today. We learned a tableau, a word wall, and we learned to use our vocabulary journals. Now I'm going to go over what are we going to submit today. Okay, so how you're going to submit your assignments for today is you're going to go to your teams. If you're in my homeroom, you go to Ms. T. Rodriguez. If you are in Ms. Bocanegra's homeroom, you go to El Bocanegra, 2nd grade, Wit and Wisdom. You're going to click it. At the top, you're going to have assignments. You're going to click on assignments. And here you're going to have your assignments for today. I know that some of you completed the exit ticket for lesson 1. That's okay. If you have not, you go and you complete it. You complete your exit ticket for lesson 2. Your notice and wonder page, page 2. You go ahead and take a picture of it and upload it. And your questions from page 3. You take a picture of it and you upload it. And that is it for today's lesson. Remember, if you did not finish any of the notice or wonders or the questions from page 3, we can work on it on our live where I am able to help you. Thank you so much for today's lesson. And remember, log in at 9 o'clock for our live session. See you there. Bye-bye, boys and girls.